La 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 live. And we are live. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's good to be back. It's good to be still breathing. It's good to be able to have these opportunities at our disposal to talk, free think, and really just catch up using the social platforms at our disposal. I hope everyone's been well. It's been some time since episode 2, but here we are again, as promised, to deliver episode 3 of Bless the Lord with Bless the Lord with brrai.n. A pleasure to be with you. A little late of a show. A little bit late. Pushed it a little bit, but we are here. We are present, and as you can rightfully tell, the room is a little bit more dark than it usually is. I just feel like it's suiting for the kind of mood in which we are. You know, it's good, even though it's here in Vancouver, Surrey, Vancouver. It's kind of, the weather, obviously fluctuates, and it's for the most part been sunny, but it's been gloomy. There have been times in which it's been gloomy as well, and that's the kind of mood in which I'm feeling right now. And not unhopefully gloomy, but where there's sunshine, there's bound to be rain. There's no sunshine unless there's a little bit of rain. Anyways. Anyways. So a lot's been going on since last time we had an episode. We just recently had the election in Canada. I recently received an injury. And just, many battles since the Lenten season, since Easter, and it's so interesting. Never have Catholics been promised after Easter, oh yeah, everything is just, and that's sometimes the notion, or at least I don't hear this message enough, where after Easter takes place, we are then immediately told, even though Christ has risen, and Christ is risen, it doesn't mean that we need to be lax. It doesn't mean that, we will just now all jump up and down, run to the sunset together. No, but rather the conscious effort to prepare ourselves, prepare our soul for heaven now begins because of the realization of what Easter exactly means. And I don't, at least for as long as I've been a Catholic, that message never made its way to me. But that's just true, Quite often people are like, people think of it as like Lent, sacrifice until Easter. Boom, Easter, it's like the climax. Easter is the zenith of the Lenten season, and then what comes after. And I don't hear enough about what comes after exactly what that entails, what that means. And quite honestly, I've been feeling it, to say the least. I've been feeling it. It's been hard, but we'll get into that in just a bit. For those who are a first time to this show, please smash a like if you liked the episode. Smash the comment section below if you have any inquiries about what it is that you'd like me to go over, react to, talk about. And I will do so. And so let's get into the show. So for starters, I want to speak about, just kind of recapitulate the teachings that I received at Bible study today. And we were speaking on Luke chapter 17 today, speaking about forgiveness, the importance of not leading the young and the little ones, both in age and in spirit, astray. The importance of gratitude. And it's been quite honestly difficult for me to exactly it was difficult for me to sit through Bible study today because I'm just in so much constant pain. I recently suffered an injury to my shoulder. It's been about a week now, and all I can think about really is pain. And it's too bad, because I'd rather not, but perhaps this is, a lesson for myself and for those who I share this with, that we should really take care of our body, try to understand our body a little bit more than we do, understand what's good for it, what's not good for it. And even though, the way I injured myself was through an over exertion of working out, or from working out, rather. These identifying these things before they take place, they matter. Because I feel my work and my way of being deteriorating as a consequence of recovering. I've had to take off work. I've had to spend money on physiotherapy. And it's just... we cannot be lax. We can't be lax in taking care of what needs to be taken care of. We have to constantly reevaluate and reassess how it is we can more properly align our very essence, both physical and spirit, to the highest conceivable good and fulfilling the utmost of our potential. So, even though I was sitting at Bible study today and just really eating up pain for breakfast and dinner and dessert, I was doing my best. I was really doing my best, and the concept of gratitude, has been striking, especially as of recent. It's not often that one might tend towards being grateful for their suffering. One might one might often become resentful as a consequence of their suffering, of their pain, of their turmoil. And we went through Job before on this show, although very, very immaturely and prematurely. But it really is that, the notion that, the notion being that in the face of immense and great suffering, we are called to withhold our faith in the good that has bestowed unto us so many blessings prior. We are called to continue to put our faith into it regardless of the testings and the trials that we may face. And I remember watching, I can't remember what movie it was. Maybe it was, I can't remember what movie it was. Maybe it was the St. Paul movie, just called Paul, I think it's called, on Netflix, maybe. I can't remember exactly, but my mother was watching it, and I caught a glimpse 2 times now of this same scene where after Jesus resurrected and revealed himself to the apostles and the disciples, the disciples were so convicted. They were just evangelizing to the ends of the earth, even though the religious authorities and the Roman governmental authorities were not having it, continuing to threaten them with death and with jail, prison, and all these things. But they continued to preach. And in this scene, the Roman authorities, I believe, they stripped the disciples of their tunics and then began lashing them. And the disciples were speaking to one another as they were being lashed beside each other, saying, "Brother, take great honor in the fact that we get to suffer like this for our Lord." And every time I see that, it's just like, man, that's the call of our Catholic faith. Anyways, that's just true. But there's also one more thing that I wanted to share about pain, is that, and it's that you kind of really don't know exactly where your faith lies until it's tested in the fire, And it's so interesting because while I was fasting for Lent, while I was healthy and thriving, as far as I can tell, during Lent, I truly felt in a place in which I can confidently say, like, I am closer to being a quality Christian as the early church fathers as I've ever been in my life, to the point in which I even hinted to those I was talking to, if it came down to it, martyrdom, I would engage with it, rightfully so. And those are some fighting words. And it's almost as if I'm suffering this pain now to really understand what those words means and what a kind of proclamation like that actually entails. And I can tell you, this pain is constant. This pain is unceasing. It's uncomfortable. It's inconsiderate of circumstance, of status. And I can tell you personally that my prayer life has just simply not been sufficient in dealing with this kind of pain I'm facing. In the pain that I'm facing, it truly put into perspective how insufficient my prayer life has been and is now, you know. It hasn't greatly improved since I've taken time off to recover. And it's a shame, because it's one of those disciplines in which just have not been curated yet. And all I have been doing, all that I have been acknowledging, is the fact that it lacks, but I have not been doing anything about it. It's quite annoying. Especially someone like me, you know. I, for the most part, would consider myself quite disciplined in many different aspects, but when it comes to prayer, for some reason, I'm just not. And that's infuriating, especially considering my position, especially considering where I want to be. And so one might wonder generally, and this is a good thought experiment, but it's like, well, what can prayer do for someone who is in a great state of suffering? How important is prayer? And the imagery that I love to use, the story that I love to refer to, is the Garden of Gethsemane, when Jesus just truly, to the fullness of his understanding, was grasping the complexities of his suffering alone. And his response to this understanding was seeking consolation with the Father, with our God. And that's like the perfect representation of what it is that we are called to do too. But really understanding that practically, I don't think I've gotten to the bottom of yet, or I haven't thought about it enough. The power of prayer. I just recently finished a book from Fuentes titled Go to Heaven. And he speaks about prayer and references concepts of prayer, why it's important to install the discipline, why it's important to really sit in the silence. And another book in which I'm going to be reading is Cardinal Robert, what is it called? It's like called, The Power of Silence Against the Dictatorship of Noise. Anyways, I bring these up because even though I've been exposed to the concepts of why prayer is important, The Master of Contemplation by St. John of the Cross, which I think is the most profound book on prayer in which I've been exposed to so far. But even though I've been exposed to these different notions and understandings of prayer, there is still the reluctant part of me where like to maybe it's my pride, but the concept of just being still, sitting still, and confiding in God alone. That is still something I'm deeply working on, and I must look to implement that now, because if I can't implement that now when I'm in great duress, it doesn't mean so much when I'm able to do it in a state of comfort. But that's really the contention that us Catholics have, is that any opportunity in which we get to refine our faith, we should take it up as soon as possible. We should do our due diligence and investigate thoroughly and put into practice that which we deem most helpful. And I do, even though I say it and I don't live it exactly, I do believe that prayer and meditation is truly important. I think it's the how for myself. It's like truly just sitting still and being still, being by my bedside, or laying on my bed, and just emptying myself fully. It's the acts, it's the technicalities in which I have just simply not put into practice enough. But it's important. It's important. Why? Because the discipline to be able to sit still and to calm our hearts, sit in silence. Far too long and far too often do we find ourselves in a state of constant dopaminic searching and an exposure to trends and the latest hits and that which constantly exerts our attention quickly. But I acknowledge that through prayer and meditation, deep reflection, can we really refine our mind, body, and soul to be much more sound. And that's interesting, you know. Only in silence can we refine our spirit and our mind to the degree in which it becomes sound. Yeah, okay, yeah, that's that's life recently. I won't get into ministry things today, but everything's been good on that front. I do want to get into the election. And I'm not so political in nature. It's just so fascinating, politics, especially in Canada, and how it's been unfolding. So many of the people that I know have been telling me, vote conservative, vote conservative. And honestly, if I felt inclined to vote, my inclination would probably be to vote for Pierre Poilievre. But I did not vote this year. I did not vote this time around. Why? Because there's just no incentive for me to vote. I don't care. And, some people could say, oh, you don't care about the state of Canada. Oh, that's just, you're exactly wasting your opportunity and your right to vote and not exercising it. People would die for this right. And it's just like, I almost think that in voting for between poor choices is an undermining of the gift and the blessing to be able to vote. That's what I think. I think by even in participating in the schema of the voting election, that it devalues my vote. Because I do believe that the right to vote is a great honor. We should consider ourselves lucky. But I don't think that the political landscape sees an individual's vote as we ought to see an individual's vote. And that in and of itself, I think, is problematic. Therefore, I will not participate in I did not participate in the process. And I was watching I can't remember, the debate between the four, the NDP, the Conservatives, the Liberals, and the Bloc Party. And it's just, first of all, Jagmeet Singh, you're not winning nothing. Like, the fact that, and that goes for the what is it? The Quebec Bloc Party. That goes for him too. It's just like, you guys are not winning nothing. Why do your parties get to take a piece of the pie in the sense of voters when it comes to the federal election? And, my understanding about politics could probably is very much immature, but I'm just looking at it, and I watched it, the whole thing, however long it was, 1 hour or so, 40 minutes to an hour. I was watching it, and I was just like, these people are supposed to represent Canadians. And who do we have? We have some liberal, Trudeau 2.0. We have Pierre Poilievre, who's Christian, wearing bandanas everywhere, catering to the Indians and the Jews beyond rationale. We have Jagmeet Singh, who totally irrelevant. totally irrelevant. And then we have Blanchet, however you pronounce it, who he states in the beginning, he's just like, who says that if he wasn't if he wasn't basically obligated to speak English, he would just be speaking French the whole time. And I'm just like, bruh, these four are basically fighting to represent me. And I'm just like, wow. Wow. And so, what we're gonna do is we're gonna do some reacting, because I don't want to comment too much about politics. Like I said, I'm very deeply ignorant, but I'm allowed to say what I think, say what I think regardless of the ignorance, in a careful manner, And so we're gonna do some reactions to the post-election conferences that were held by 3 out of 4 of the leaders. We'll do a little bit of reacting to that. Just get it up there real quickie. Bam. Starting with Mark Carney addressing his victory. Okay. Started at 80.
The women and men who put their name on the ballot from all parties, thank you for standing up to serve our country at this critical time. And for those who were elected, particularly those liberals who were elected, I am looking forward to working together to deliver for Canadians. This says Bruce. And Bruce, yes, Bruce Vanjo. I'm looking forward to working with Bruce Vanjo.
Okay.
Fantastic. He will be a great MP.
Just shouting out.
We're going to have fun tonight. Yes, we're going to have fun. Okonye Opal Dane. Because I felt we needed big changes in this country. But big changes guided by strong Canadian values. Values that I learned at the dinner table from my parents, Bob and Verley, and from my siblings. I appreciate this more in retrospect from my siblings. My siblings, Brenda, Sean, and Brian. Values that I learned on the ice from my coaches. Values that these are Canadian values. Values that I will do my best. I'm just getting worked up here. These are values that I will do my best to uphold. It's ambition. Humility. It's Canada after all. Ambition. It's Canada after all. And unity. It's Canada. I love you. Right back. Worked up here. These are. Okay, well, you have to judge after this next section because I am going to begin. I am going to begin with the value of humility.
Okay.
By admitting that I have much to be humble about. It's true. Over my long, that's not an applause line, it's just a statement of fact. Over my long career, I have made many mistakes, and I will make more. But I commit to admitting them openly, to correcting them quickly, and always learning from them. Humility with all parties. And at this time, it underscores the value of bringing together labor, business, civil society to advance the nation-building investments we need to transform our economy for the best. As I've been warned, America wants our land, our resources.
This is one of the things in which he apparently was very resonant with some of the Canadian voters, is that he truly posited a more adamant threat against Trump than Pierre Poilievre. And I think a lot of boomers and elder-aged Canadians appreciated that much more, warranting their vote for Carney over Pierre.
Sources, our water, our country. Never. But these are not idle threats. President Trump is trying to break us so that America can own us. That will never ever happen. But we
Oh, brother. Nope.
I chose to enter parties. M'ont accordé leur confiance que vous to assert ourselves in generosity. Open global trade, anchored to do so with compassion and generosity. We are once again at one of those hinge moments of history. Our old relationship with the United States, a relationship based on steadily increasing integration, is over. The system of open global trade, anchored by the United States, a system that Canada has relied on since the Second World War, a system that, while not perfect, has helped deliver prosperity for a country for decades, is over. But it's also our new reality. We are over the shock of the American betrayal, but we should never forget the lessons.
But you're going to take us forward.
We have to look out for ourselves, and above all, we have to take care of each other. When I sit down with President Trump, it will be to discuss the future economic and security relationship between two sovereign nations.
Well, this is our guy.
And it will be with our full knowledge that we have many, many other options than the United States to build prosperity for all Canadians.
He's really hammering this point down.
Nous allons jouer un rôle de première chez nous. Une seule école happens.
It's like he is seizing this opportunity greatly to really promulgate Trump as the victimizer and is essentially rallying the liberal Canadians for this very purpose. You know, because in general, liberals don't like Trump, whether that be in the West. Quite often they don't like what Trump represents, which is more so of a conservative, seemingly traditional kind of idealism. And liberals all across the West don't like that, and I think Carney seized upon that in his campaign. At the very end of it, seized on that, and is making that his position now.
It's here. We will need to think big and act bigger. That's fine. Sorry. We will need to think big and act bigger. Your phone's ringing. Sorry. All right. Just need to think big and act bigger.
Take a look at him.
Your phone's ringing.
Damn. Damn.
Sorry. All right. Just hang on. It's okay. Yeah. That might be important.
Ugh. Bruh. Zero Riz. Zero Riz. This guy got.
We will need to do things previously thought impossible at speeds we haven't seen in generations. It's time to build twice as many homes every year with an entirely new housing industry using Canadian technology, Canadian skilled workers, Canadian lumber. It's time to build new trade and energy corridors, working in partnership with the provinces, territories, and Indigenous peoples. It's time to build hundreds of thousands of not just good jobs, but good careers in the skilled trades. Strategy that makes Canada more competitive while fighting climate change.
I hate how he says. I hate when anyone deals with net zero ideals. Like, you just can't achieve net zero. And Mark Carney is just super adamant about achieving net zero. I think it's carbon reduction, which is just impossible. Something to do with carbon emissions. What did I say? Carbon reduction. It's like a net zero of carbon emissions. The use or the amount of carbon being emitted into the atmosphere. He wants to turn that into net zero. To as a position of his fight against climate change, which I just don't think is possible. And it's just, that means nothing.
We will build a Canadian economy, not 13, with a government committed to free trade in Canada by Canada Day. The point is that we can give ourselves far more than the Americans can ever take away. They will call for some. Nous avons beaucoup of ideas and ideals built on practical foundations. That we know we're not always perfect, but we always strive to be good. We do things because they're right, not because they're easy.
I hate being morally lectured by people who are not Christians. It's one thing because they're not Catholic, but you're not even Christian. What is this guy? What is Mark Carney's? Mark Carney's practicing. Mark Carney. Oh, yeah, he's a Catholic. Of course he is. A Roman Catholic who actively participates in the faith. I don't buy it, man. I don't buy it, man. Like, you win, you have the opportunity to proclaim, this is Catholic. This is the problem with, he is a politician, and as Joe Biden is Catholic, so is he. That's all I have to say about that.
That we see kindness as a virtue, not as a weakness. Most importantly, we know that our strength lies in our resolve to work together as a country. It relies on our unity. You know, on the second day of this campaign, I went to Gander, where on 9/11, they welcomed thousands of passengers into their homes with. They showed me that touching phrase captures doing just acts, brave by doing brave acts. When possible things form on this,
it's since I found out that he's Catholic, it's just like, it's just so sick, man. How unfaithful politicians are to their beliefs. How willingly they are to put it second or third or fourth or fifth, not as the priority, especially when they're in a position like this, in hopes for re-election, in hopes to not squander identity.
Culture et des croyants. And now through a crisis that nous allons nous battre. In businesses, even better. Canada. I also want to salute.
Okay, so that's Mark Carney. Next, we're going to look at Pierre Poilievre. See what he has to say. And this one I could turn up a little bit.
Chers Canadiens, merci. Merci, chers Canadiens. Je vous aime aussi. I love you too. Thank you, thank you.
Let's just talk about his wife for a second. We don't gotta talk about his wife. Enough has been said.
Thank you. It's with profound gratitude that I stand before you today at the moment of
Pierre Poilievre.
This historic election. Because only in Canada could the story that Anna and I bring to the stage be possible. Adopted son, school teacher.
I'm covering her. Hold on. Y'all didn't get a good glimpse. Right here. It's just okay.
And
okay, anything's possible.
Venezuelan refugee. Stand on this stage in front of our proud country, offering ourselves up to serve for the future. After millions of people have shown up and marked their X, spoken their voice, and exercised their democratic rights, we could not be more proud, we could not be more grateful for the opportunity the Canadians have given us. And speaking now of Anna, I want to take a moment to thank my incredible wife. She's been by my side. She's my rock. I love and cherish you and our little ones more than you'll ever know, and I could not have done any of this without you. Thank you so much. I love you. Now, my message to Canadians. The promise that was made to me and to all of you is that anybody from anywhere could achieve anything, that through hard work, you could get a great life, you could have a nice, affordable home on a safe street. My purpose in politics is and will continue to be to restore that promise.
Damn. You know, he seems like a nice enough, honest enough guy. That's a shame.
Restore that promise. Thank you. To the candidates who ran under our banner as Conservatives, to the volunteers who knocked on the doors, made phone calls, put up lawn signs, rallied at our events, donated their hard-earned money to our cause, I thank you from the bottom of my heart. To the millions of people who voted for the Conservative Party and put their hopes and dreams in our vision, thank you. It will be an honor to continue to fight for you and to be a champion of your cause as we go forward. Ça serait un grand honneur de continuer de me battre pour vous, parce que c'est un honneur d'être votre voix, c'est un honneur de me battre pour les valeurs conservatrices pour lesquelles vous avez voté, et surtout, ça va être un honneur de continuer d'avancer la promesse du Canada, que chacun ici au Canada qui travaille fort peut avoir une belle vie. We have much to celebrate tonight. We've gained well over 20 seats. We got the highest share of vote our party has received since 1988. We denied the NDP and Liberals enough seats to form a coalition government, meaning... And we did all of this in a very difficult environment. That said, we are cognizant of the fact that we didn't quite get over the finish line yet. We know that change is needed, but change is hard to come by. It takes time. It takes work. And that's why we have to learn the lessons of tonight so that we can have an even better result the next time the Canadians decide the future for the country. Canadians have opted for a razor-thin minority government, a virtual tie in the vote count. So I would like to congratulate Prime Minister Carney on leading this minority government. We'll have plenty of opportunity to debate and disagree, but tonight we come together as Canadians. We will do our job. Yes, we will do our job to hold the government to account. But first, we congratulate people from all political backgrounds on participating in the democratic process. And as I said, while we will do our constitutional duty of holding government to account and proposing better alternatives, we will always put Canada first as we stare down tariffs and other irresponsible threats from President Trump. Conservatives will work with the Prime Minister and all parties with the common goal of defending Canada's interests and getting a new trade deal that puts these tariffs behind us while protecting our sovereignty and the Canadian people. I want to thank my Conservative team, my caucus, my members of the Conservative staff and others who've helped reshape the entire political landscape in this country. Conservatives have achieved major breakthroughs tonight. We brought in record support from blue-collar and unionized workers, youth, new Canadians. We gave voices to countless people across this country who've been left out and left behind for far too long. We won the big debates of our time on the carbon tax, on inflation, on housing, on the drug crisis, on crime. Conservatives have been leading the debate, and we will continue to put forward the best arguments to improve the lives of our people right across this country. But we will not stop there. Every single day, our Conservative caucus and I will be holding the government to account on behalf of the millions of Canadians who believed in the message of change. En tant que parti, on a grandement élargi notre soutien et chaque jour, le caucus conservateur et moi allons travailler à Ottawa pour rendre des comptes du gouvernement. Everywhere I went, hard-working people took precious time out of their day to tell me about their struggles, their pain, their fears, but also their hopes and dreams. Welders and waitresses, farmers and factory workers, seniors, small business owners and single mothers, young Canadians and young families pleading for the chance to own a home, parents who worried that their kids would never be able to move out of their home, grandparents who saw their grandchildren suffering from the shortfalls of our economy, and countless others who are afraid to go outside because of the rising wave of crime. All of these stories touched my heart and gave me inspiration to work towards something better. These people continue to need voices, and I will continue to fight for them every day, and every day we will never give up on fighting for the Canadian people. Thank you. We hear your stories. We will carry those stories with us into Parliament. We will not forget the people for whom we work and for whom we fight every day. Now, I know that some of you might be disappointed that change did not get over the finish line tonight. Change takes time. Most of all, it requires that we never give up, because our people and our country are worth fighting for. Je vous ai entendu, et ceux qui ont désespéré, et son peuple mérite qu'on se batte pour jobs, but still has an empty fridge and an empty everyone who stood with us today, and the millions of people who voted for other parties. And so, my message tonight, for the single mother working 2 jobs but still has an empty fridge and an empty bank account, for the young people who despair at never being able to afford a home, for the seniors on fixed incomes whose savings are eroded by inflation and no longer feel safe in their local neighborhood parks, for those who are now living in fear and terror because of crime, for those worried about losing their jobs because of unacceptable tariffs from the United States of America, for all of those who feel left behind and forgotten, my message is one of hope. Change will take time, but we will fight for that change, and we will deliver that change, and we will never give up on fighting for the great Canadian promise that anyone from anywhere can achieve anything, that hard work gets you a great life in a beautiful house on a safe street protected by our brave...
Anywhere, anyone from anywhere.
And we will never give up on fighting for the great Canadian promise that anyone from anywhere can achieve anything, that hard work gets you a great life in a beautiful house on a safe street protected by our brave troops under our proud flag. Canada first, Canada always. Let's bring it home. Thank you very much, Canada. Merci beaucoup, Canada.
He seems like a nice enough guy, you know? But yeah, it's a shame. Next we have Jagmeet Singh. Oh, great.
We have to point out, I guess, that the NDP right now is sitting at 8. They had 9 in 1993 when they also lost official party status. They could end up with fewer votes this time than at any time in their history. That's what he's looking at. And losing his own riding.
Gotta keep it together here, folks. Thank you very much. The love is amazing. I appreciate y'all. Big thank you to Suzanne. She's been with us from the beginning. Huge thank you. Appreciate her so much. Thank you, thank you. And all of you in this room, you guys poured your heart into this. Thank you so much for everything you've done. You're amazing. Love you all. And I know in election parties, night parties across the country, people are gathered. I want to thank them all for all their hard work. They're amazing people gathered together across the country. I want to take a moment to congratulate Prime Minister Carney on his victory. He has an important job to do to represent all Canadians and to protect our country and its sovereignty from the threats of Donald Trump. Tonight and every night, all of us here, we're on Team Canada. We want Canada to thrive, and we're going to continue to fight for Canada. I want to congratulate all the other leaders on a hard-fought campaign. It's been the honor of my life to represent the people of Burnaby Central. Tonight they chose, thank you. Tonight they chose a new member of parliament, and I wish them well as they continue to work hard for this community. Obviously, I know this night is a disappointing night for New Democrats. We had really good candidates that lost tonight. I know how hard you worked. I spent time with you. You're amazing. I'm so sorry you're not going to be able to represent your communities. I know you're going to continue to fight for them. I know how many doors you knocked, how many family dinners you missed, how many nights your kids went to bed without you there to tuck them in. I know it was a tough sacrifice, and I just want to thank. And we can give a round of applause to every single candidate that went for us. Thank all those incredible candidates and their incredible teams, because no candidate can do it without a team. The volunteers, the staff, thank you to all those candidates and their incredible staffs. One more time. Better. We may lose sometimes, and those losses hurt, it's tough. But we are only defeated if we stop fighting. We're only defeated when we believe that those that tell us that we can never dream of a better Canada, a fairer Canada, a more compassionate Canada. I've met New Democrats from coast to coast to coast who will never back down, even when they're told that there's no room for them at the table.
My name is Derek Sagastume.
We make room for everyone because we believe that there is enough wealth in Canada for all of us to live the life that we deserve. Honestly, I gotta avoid making eye contact with certain people because then it's gonna get too emotional up here. So I just made the mistake of doing that, so I'm gonna look away now. You know who you are. Don't look at me again. Almost 8 years ago, I was elected the leader of this incredible party. Hold on a second, guys. Thank you. One more sec. Tonight, I've been forward a party leader that I'll be stepping down as party leader as soon as an interim leader can be appointed. Now, I could not have done this incredible job without, here's a point, give me a second to break down a bit. I could have done it without the incredible support of my wife, Gideon. She has been my rock. She's been my foundation. For the past couple years, I've been regretting that I didn't thank her on the night of the last election. So this is my opportunity to make up for it. She has convinced me that she's... This might sound funny, but my in-laws, I literally could have done this at my parents' school.
Okay, yeah, interesting. Alright, Jordan Peterson. Just immediately at the gate. Cool. Well, we'll see what Jordan Peterson's take is on the election.
Trudeau virtue signaled to a degree that was virtually impossible as he impoverished Canada to no positive end whatsoever on the environmental front. And all that's going to happen is that that's going to be much worse under Carney. So we already see that Carney's set at serious odds, for example, with Danielle Smith in Alberta. And that's a continuation of the scrap that Smith and the West has been having with Trudeau and the Liberals and the East as a whole. That's not going to rectify itself. It isn't even obvious to me that the country itself, which the Liberals for the last 10 years have regarded as an entity with no real central identity anyways, it isn't obvious to me at all that the country's going to be able to survive another 4-year round of liberal, utopian, globalist, environmentalist, net zero catastrophe. And so don't be thinking that Carney's a new guy. And don't be thinking that his stellar resume indicates that he's going to produce some kind of economic revival in Canada, because all the evidence points to the fact that he's going to continue to pursue the net zero delusions that he's already established as the center of his entire edifice of thought. And if you don't believe me, and maybe you don't want to or can't, or you doubt me, read Values yourself. And then you'll see. Read the first 3 chapters and the last 3 chapters, because the middle of it's just boilerplate. It's only there to make the book fit instead of pamphlet length. And so an hour of reading and you'll figure out who Carney is. Now, if you believe that carbon dioxide output on the part of Canada constitutes an existential threat of the sort that requires us to become poverty-stricken over the next 40 years, while we virtue signal about how the planet could be saved while doing absolutely nothing about actually addressing any true environmental problems, then Carney's your guy. And if you think that core Canadian values are the values of the radical utopian environmentalist left, then Carney's your guy. Now, he purports to be a free market believer, which takes him out of the left-wing camp, but the way he maneuvers around that problem is by saying, well, the free market doesn't address the really important problems, and it's the central planners, the highly educated technocratic central planners, that have to pick up the slack. And so he says free market, but what he means is central planning, free market. And what he means by central planning is his vision, and what his vision is, that's the other thing about Carney. You know, I read his book Values, and one of the things I really hope for in a book is, A, that I learned something, and all I learned from reading Values was something about Carney. I didn't learn anything of any substantial import in consequence of reading the book. And I learned that he didn't have a single original idea. There wasn't a single original idea in that entire book. Like the first 3 chapters and the last 3 chapters outline his ideas, but they're not his ideas. Diversity, inclusivity, equity, that's not Carney's idea. Environmental social governance, these new policies that are hypothetically going to govern the biggest financial institutions in the world, and every financial decision everybody makes with stakeholder capitalism and central top-down planning, none of that's his idea. Net zero, that's not his idea. And Carney had the opportunity in Values to put forward a platform of ideas, because he could have said, well, here's the problem with the fossil fuel economy, and it's leading us into this carbon dioxide catastrophe. And here's an absolutely detailed industrial plan for how Canada could move itself forward, own its own technology, develop a new industrial base that was renewable. Here's the detailed proposals, and here's the vision. Here's the proof of concept. There's none of that in this book. There's hand-waving about how the magical new renewable economy, and he has the gall to talk about hydrogen, which is like the most appalling proposition possible. No one takes the idea of a hydrogen economy seriously, certainly not in the next few decades. There's no ideas and values except DEI, ESG, and net zero, and those aren't his ideas. And worse than that, they're like the worst ideas of the last 20 years, and they're already outdated. So let's talk about that for a minute. So it was true that Carney took a leadership role as the UN climate envoy, and it was true that he organized like 400 of the world's biggest financial institutions to pursue what's essentially a net zero agenda. And that happened, let's say, roughly 5 years ago. Okay, so let's ask ourselves, what's happened in the interim? And the answer is, despite his success in doing so, all the big players have bailed out. BlackRock, Vanguard, all of these big players have decided that pursuing the net zero agenda, DEI and ESG, that's not going to fly. And so even if you believe that Carney had been properly successful in organizing these big financial institutions to hit the net zero targets, you're faced with the problem that they don't think so anymore, and that whole coalition is falling apart. So my interpretation of part of the reason that Carney is motivated to become prime minister is because his international career has collapsed in failure. And so now where is he? Well, you might as well go to Canada. It's kind of a ratty little backwoods country anyways. You don't really want to bother with niceties like actually having a seat and meeting Canadians and being elected. You can just hop in because you have this stellar resume and you're the Bank of England former governor, and you can tell people what's what. And you can tell Canadians that you're an outsider and that there's going to be some sort of economic revolution. And you can do that while lying about your actual goals, which are net zero, or failing to explain how you made such a cataclysmic mistake. And you're going to do that because you're a complete bloody failure on the international front. And that's embarrassing, and it's going to become stark bloody obvious in the next 5 years. And then I would say, as I already said, that if that wasn't the case, then Carney would let Canadians get to know who the hell he is, and he wouldn't have called a snap election that will unfold in virtually no time. And I might also say he would have agreed to come on this damn podcast as well, because I offered him that opportunity because I could be sitting here talking to him. And his staff was reasonably polite in their insistence that they couldn't find the time. But I'd also like to point out that I interviewed Polyev relatively recently, and that was by any standard of evaluation the most successful political interaction in terms of distribution and impact of any Canadian political move in the last 100 years. We got something like 50 million views. And so if Carney actually wanted to communicate to Canadians, even Canadians like me, well, he had the opportunity. You know, and I might say, well, if I was Carney, I wouldn't have come on my show, and that might be true, because I'm not a fan, and I would have done my best to be like a reasonable interviewer, and I'm kind of an agreeable guy, so I probably would have been, and I can see why he didn't want to do it. But he didn't do it.
Are you tired of being held back by one-size-fits-all? Their commitment to truly work for you, pal. Stop.
And who he talks to. Talking to CBC doesn't count, right? Or CTV, because the Canadian legacy media is heavily government subsidized. And so he doesn't like talking to reporters anyways, but those he talks to are government-funded reporters. Well, he won't talk to me, and he won't sit down with me for 3 hours and hash this stuff out. And I would have done it politely, skeptically. You know, I've done interviews with 500 people, and many of them had political views that I didn't agree with. Many of them were, well, the Democrats, for example, Tulsi Gabbard and RFK, Dean Phillips, who had held positions that ideologically would have aligned with Carney at least at one point in their political careers. And so that opportunity was open to him, and he didn't take it. And so instead, I'm talking to you directly about who Mark Carney is, and trying to walk you through what I've concluded. You know, I've done as much studying as I could in the last couple of months, including reading his book twice, and talking to formidable people in Canada about what they think, and my connections in the UK, trying to get a handle on this guy, and evaluating his policies in light of what I know about the UK and about Germany, and about the net zero catastrophe, and in light of what I know from talking extensively to people like Bjorn Lomborg, and other people who are, Richard Lynchburg, for example, who are stellar scientific critics of the entire net zero apocalypse game. So in conclusion, Canada has a new prime minister. Who is Mark J. Carney? Well, he's someone who, on paper, looks stellar. He's someone who, because of that pedigree and educational history, Canadians regard as a potential contender with Trump. What do we conclude if we look more deeply into what those claims truly mean? Well, if we do an analysis of Carney's career and his writings, what we find is that he believes that there is no more important existential issue facing mankind and Canadians than the apocalypse that's impending because of carbon dioxide overproduction. And as far as I can tell, all that he does stems from that initial presupposition. Now, if you accept that presupposition, well then perhaps Carney's your man. If you think there are credible reasons for concluding that there are other important things that might be taken into consideration, like the fact that Canada's economy is collapsing and that the prognostications for its continued collapse, especially given the industrial policies that someone like Carney is likely to pursue, the prognostications is that unraveling will continue and accelerate.
Okay, that's Jordan Peterson. Next we have Patrick Bet-David, and I don't really watch Patrick Bet-David anymore, but I do want to see what his take is on this. We'll see just right now.
Canadian conservatives, I got some unsolicited advice for you, the type you're not going to like, but I'm going to give it to you anyways. You know what you sound like every time you say it's Trump's fault why Pierre lost? Do you know what you sound like every time you say it's Trump's fault why Pierre Poilievre lost? And not only did he lose the prime minister, but he lost his seat that he's held since 2004. That is embarrassing. Each time you say that, you sound like the 51st state of the United States of America. You validate Trump's points, why you need him. You validate why you see him as your head of state. So you're blaming the president for your governor losing in Canada. It is embarrassing because if you did not even view it that way, you would never even bring up the point. You would never say it's Trump's fault. You wouldn't, because you're your own country. Who the hell that loses an election in a country where the opposing political parties' policies were so exposed the last 4 years during COVID that every country around the world knew how shitty things were in Canada, and you still didn't know how to make it win. You still didn't know how to win. And you lose your parliament, and you guys all acted like he was going to win and it was going to be a landslide victory. But no, it's Trump's fault. Of course, it's Trump's fault. No, it's Trump's fault. Because we view ourselves as the 51st state. Please, don't think I'm talking about every conservative in Canada. I'm specifically talking to the fanboy of Pierre Poilievre conservatives that were so convinced that this whole thing was going to be done. And all these other critics, you guys are such terrible critics and unfair. He's such a great man. I don't care how great of a man and a husband he is. The market doesn't give handouts of prime minister to great men and women. They give it to winners. You either win or you don't. They don't give it to victims, crybabies. It's not fair. It's Trump's fault. That is so unattractive. But you lost in a big way. And you handed it over to the guy that came up with the economic policies of Justin Trudeau. I don't know, again, I keep saying this, if I've seen anything more embarrassing than this, but stop blaming Trump for your loss. You sound like the 51st state every time you say that. That's all I think about when I hear everybody blame Trump for Canada losing. You are the 51st state. Or else act like you have your own country and stop whining about another country's head of state.
Okay. That's enough of that. Oh. Okay, well, those are perspectives now. Interesting how it all unfolded like that. That's just the... Yep, that's the position that we're in now. Internationally, Canada is truly deemed a radical liberal country. Simply had the opportunity for a more conservative, traditional, supposedly, ostensibly leader, but didn't want it. And so I suppose I'll just, my final thoughts on it will be that this is why it really is important that Canadians get smart. That Canadians in politics, Canadians in school for law or really trying to advance politically, garner more of an understanding economically, that they ground themselves in things that are good and true, because Canada needs it. Canada needs it, and not just needs greater intellectuals, but also a moral compass that's guided by the right thing. Jesus Christ. I believe it. I believe that's an unpopular message, but if done correctly, it can be the message that ends up saving Canada. How? By truly being able to advocate for policies that are greater than just the political realm, but are able to be concretely grounded in a true conviction of something other than politics, to have something that's greater priority than the political state of the world. I think it just needs a leader that puts God even above politics. And not just any God, but Jesus Christ. That's what Canada needs. And until or unless that happens, Canada will continue to greatly deteriorate in front of our very own eyes. That's just true. Next, we're going to do a small little reaction to Nick Fuentes versus Sneako. I was going to but look at this in my own time, but I figured why not just kind of look through it now and check out what all the commotion is about. You dig?
To me, it's just a question of duty.
It's kind of quiet, but if you're uninterested in checking this, you can click out. But I don't want to go through this.
To me, it's just a question of duty. It's like you say, truthfully funny. I feel like...
And I don't think I compromise that when you do that.
That's my perception of it.
I haven't seen any problems with anything else.
If you, those things like you're not doing the day with Myron, or the show with Myron,
Which we both agree with this time.
I think it should have been restructured. Because I told Myron, having 4 people agree, it's not going to be a good project.
Yeah.
Well, it's supposed to be called control chaos. I said, where's the chaos?
Yeah,
It's 4 people agree.
yeah, we should have been investing on there, just different opinions. The show would have been you talking, and then me like once in a while saying, like, I wouldn't even have to contribute.
Right.
Like, we all, I don't think anyone can, I can't mitigate because you guys can still do the show without me.
Well, I told him I said we need to restructure it. But the point is, I felt like back in November when that happened, you did it, not because you can say, oh, well, it was a bad idea. I agree. I don't think that's the reason you didn't do it. I think the reason you didn't do it is because you said this would be good for my career to do a show about Jews and Myron making a life.
There's a lot of reasons. Like, it's just not.
Are you acknowledging that?
It's a bad idea because I don't have anything. The show's not good. It doesn't help me. It's a pushing conversation. It's not new. There's just no reason. There's no reason to do it. There was literally no reason to do it.
Okay, but you were pushing it, and then you determined it was a bad idea.
As I told you, like pushing it because Myron's excited about it and you know,
I just don't believe that. And maybe your heart of hearts, that's the reason you didn't go through with it.
so you would prefer to not, you were looking back and you said, the show's bad. We should have done it. You're looking back and said, I should have done it even though it was bad because of what?
I'm saying you switched up, and it's convenient for you now to say, oh, well, I didn't do it because the show's a bad idea. But if the show's a bad idea, maybe you would have suggested, let's restructure the show, let's bring on liberals. But you bailed on it at the last minute, literally days before you're going to do it.
I didn't do that idea. I didn't cross my mind like this doesn't benefit and I'm not going to do it.
It doesn't benefit.
Yeah, it doesn't benefit. What do you see that with a problem with benefit? Isn't that the whole point of why would we benefit? You want to lose?
No, it's not a question of
benefiting's wrong.
Not a problem benefiting, but this is where it goes back to, there's 2 tracks. And there's a track where we can think in terms of we're going to tell the truth no matter the consequence, and then there's a track where benefit comes into consideration. Because think about it this way, 10 years ago, there was no benefit to talking about any of this because you were just getting it from everything. Someone had to say, I'm going to get banned on YouTube saying it first, and not benefit, and that person was me. And then 10 years later, people like Candace Owens walk over my dead body and claim that they're being strategic. Not really. I don't really.
I don't have any sort of like ill will.
We have people Charlie Kirk, Ben Shapiro, Tucker, everybody. J.D. Vance. I don't know.
The vice president, the biggest podcaster.
Vance sucks. Tucker started everything.
Tucker is simple and back in the
Yeah, he was in the side watch.
Tucker like that.
I think he's controlled ops. I think so too. I think so too.
I think it's hard not to be when he comes to the upper end now.
Yeah.
Just shove it front and center to the mainstream networks and reach whatever the hell they want.
Yeah, it's hard to think it's not. It's some type of propaganda.
What about the streamers? How do you not fucking streamer?
Hassan Piker. Who else is even out there?
if you lose everything, you're base. Like, the more you lose, the more truth telling you are.
That's not true. I told you.
So then why do you smell like you sneer when I say benefit as if that's actually cancerous word?
Because you want to have your cake and eat it too. I encourage you.
Yeah, why don't you know what you eat? But you want to.
I'm saying you want to have it both ways. You can't have it both ways.
Why you can't have both ways?
You can't selectively compromise for career benefit, but also be a martyr.
Well, what do you think I didn't want to do the show. I thought it was bad. Like, what do you think I'm here? Like, oh fuck, I wish I did the show.
I mean, I encourage you to stop doing medical content.
So then what's the problem?
Because you said, well, I don't understand your criticism. My criticism is not that you do things for your career or that you don't. The criticism is you have to pick a lane to stick to it. And here's why. Because
I didn't talk about all lanes. I didn't
he has his own lane.
Like, for example, you talk fashion lane, you talk music lane, politics, religion lane. Why did you just run on one lane? That's really boring.
It's not a
matter.
It's not a matter.
for you, because you're like an Alex Jones style. But like Sneako has his own lane. He does all sorts of.
Right, that's true with Neon. Like, we do completely different content. I have different paths.
That's what makes him cool.
I see creating content as an art form. You know,
Yeah.
like, I don't see it as like my mission or shit. Like, no, I like to create.
I know, but it's not a matter of subject matter. The question is, again, strategy that's involved. Here's a case in point. You know, like, being involved like in the stream of hate. This is like not good for your career.
I didn't know you were running.
And wait, he's not doing it.
He's doing it.
Wow.
Hold on, let me just like give one.
It's a comparison.
This is the most volatile person to anyone's league.
We're gonna have to lead.
You can get down everything for being a camera.
Tilda.
This is the single most person I could ruin your career in a second. Just be on camera. Well, yeah.
You agree? Objectively, that's true. Yeah.
You weren't like even a participant. You were just sitting there.
I don't see you don't contribute to the conversation you're benefiting. I just saw that.
But see, you're like defensive about it. I'm not even attacking. I'm not saying you're a sellout. I'm saying that
Here's what I'm saying. Your category and your focus can elevate your personal brand and success at the highest level of the set category. Sneako chose one or the other. He didn't limit himself because he doesn't exist. He's not going to be the ultimate red pill or religion.
I'm not good. It's not even like
we're talking past each other. I feel like what I'm saying is very clear, but it keeps going in these other directions.
The reason I think like when I finally got after months of trying to work and getting myself back. When I got
when you get yourself back.
Getting, I got one down Twitch, and then I got a ban on YouTube today, and then I started shooting on kickings are going well. I was 22 this week. Tell me you can't get an album called Coffee Cup on the Scene. I told you they want, I won't say it, but, I was getting banned on these platforms, and they started laughing. Like, and I'm like, well, part of the reason, one of the main reasons that I was suing platforms is, how do you want censorship?
But do you know why it was funny? Why it's ironic?
Because I left the podcast and you're like, oh wow, but anyway. Regardless, it's like you're supposed to make your friends a little bit public with friends. Especially in a situation like that, like that was brutal, bro. I'm trying to like everything to get my YouTube channel back. You know, it's my life. And I got it back for a day and then I'm banned. That's like using Saint and ignoring my kids. That's my kids. That's Kim Kardashian taking my children. That's the same thing. YouTube is everything in my life. That's not that's the truth that I mean every 5 of me. YouTube was my life. I've been doing this since I was 13 years old. I got out of the category of everything I've done. I got it back for one day after trying everything and then hit and then switch. And then here you go, like the guy that was radioactive laughing at it. It's like, what the fuck was this all for?
Here's why, okay? You hung us out to dry. You bailed on us.
How was it coming out to dry? Because I did one podcast?
Because you pushed us to do it, and then you bailed on us.
Pushed me to a couple texts? Was it really like I was budgeting?
Yes. I really didn't want to do it. You pushed us to do it. I booked the flight. We were a week out.
Let me talk.
Let me talk. We were a week out from doing it. You bailed for your career. Then you get banned.
For many reasons.
And like you said, your YouTube channel is your baby. But YouTube is the matrix, dude. Your baby is the matrix. That's how the matrix controls you.
That's W by Nick. And this is true. Sneako slipped up when he said that.
Then you get banned anyway. And like you just said, your YouTube channel is your baby. YouTube is the matrix, dude. Your baby is the matrix. So that's how the matrix controls you.
Regardless of what it's called, I wanted to see my catalog again. Even if I never posted on there, having that back in my life. Whatever you want to call it, and you said yourself, well, the show was a waste. So then why stand on this high ground about this show that I bailed on when it benefits nobody? You didn't want to do it, and we all know who was going to start.
What you just said about your YouTube being your baby, I mean, that's just everything in there right there.
That's my discography. That's everything there.
You have the video.
That's my life story. Yeah, but it's not the same. I created them for YouTube, having the comment section there.
You're just attached to this, like, I want to be a YouTuber, or I want to be on YouTube. It's like more than you want the integrity of being free.
No, I just want my YouTube channel back. I want to be able to.
No, I just want my YouTube channel. I just want my YouTube.
You don't get it. It's not that. I mean, it's not really yours to say. It's something that I created. It's something that I did.
Well, at the end of your life, you have your YouTube channel. There you go.
What do you mean?
I'm saying, when we all die, when we all pass on to the grave, some people will have their YouTube channel. They will have their conference of legitimacy from the system. I'm a YouTuber. I have my channel. Here's my catalog. And some people have their actions. They stood up for what was right. They told the truth when it was different.
We're agreeing the show was wrong. Like, we're agreeing that show was not the right thing to do.
But you pulled out because it would have affected your career. Just like how when I got there,
because we thought, there was no point.
That's not why you backed out. That's not why you would follow me on Twitter. That's not why when I got here, the first thing you said was, there goes me getting my YouTube channel back. Because that's always in your head.
Because I've been trying very hard to get back, yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
And what does that, when you say you're trying to get it back, what does that mean exactly? How do you try to get your YouTube channel back? Do you moderate what you say so they'll approve you?
I don't moderate. I went to the YouTube headquarters. I'm trying to make the right moves.
What does that mean, make the right moves?
My brand, my community loves me. People think that I'm a hateful person, and now I've been focusing on the right things and saying the right things,
and saying
not being a
like,
hateful person.
You're streaming with Jewish rabbis and saying, oh, Jewish people aren't the problem, it's Zionists, it's this. I mean, you yourself said you don't call them Jews, you call them Zionists because it sounds better. Like,
so what do you want me to say Jews are the problem? That's the overall sum of everything I do.
When you say you're doing the work to get your YouTube channel back, we all know that means you're bending over backwards to appease YouTube so they will get it to you. And I'm saying fuck YouTube. I'm saying fuck Google.
If you want to do that, that doesn't need to be my life path. That doesn't need to be what I do.
I know, and that's the difference between us. You want your YouTube. I said I don't give a fuck. I got strikes on my channel.
Yeah, but my YouTube channel is not yours to decide whether it exists or not.
I know. It's your life and it's your prerogative. And that's my criticism. You asked what my criticism is, I told you.
So your criticism is that I want YouTube?
My criticism, I think it's pretty obvious what criticism is.
That I want YouTube because it's the Matrix?
Yeah, I think you're too attached to the world. You gotta let go. You gotta learn to let go.
Okay, then why were you on my stream? What did you say before you got me on Twitter?
What?
Last time with Keith in my Miami apartment.
I don't remember.
What did I say? You said, I just want my fucking Twitter back.
Yeah,
I just want my fucking Twitter back.
I did.
You're attached to the world.
But I never compromised, did I? I was doing rallies where I was saying things that were very reckless that I probably shouldn't have said. Things that I said in the heat of the moment, whatever.
You said like, oh, I'm not going to say the N-word anymore because it hurts people. Like, I'm not
yeah, I keep doing it.
Okay, but so then why do you say that in the first place?
Because that's what people tell me.
Okay, so you're compromising and you're bending over backwards.
Because I'm thinking about it. Everybody knows I'm not bending over backwards.
Oh, what's the difference? If you're saying I'm not going to say the N-word because people think it's bad.
Because I ain't going to be on Twitch. Because I was down to fuck with the podcast with Myron and Elijah.
Okay, but when I'm bending over backwards, we're not saying the N-word anymore.
What I do.
Okay, but when you said that, when you said I'm not going to say this anymore.
I said that because people are saying that to me.
Okay, well, so you're not conscious of your own words. It came out of your mouth when you said it. That's compromise. By your logic, you're doing the same thing. By polishing your message so that it can be more broad, which is what I'm trying to do, by like cleaning it up and making sure that people can use stuff against me.
You're cleaning it up.
Yeah, just like you not
these things against
just like you're not saying the
I don't like it clean. Okay, I like it.
Then say the word on my stream.
I do. This isn't my stream. I'm not going to get.
Then you're bending over for this stream, right?
I'm being considerate. You gotta get
What's the difference?
I'm going to say it on the album.
So what's the difference between consideration and bending over backwards? No, I don't. I can't figure that out. Same thing like how you're being polite on his stream. I'm trying to be polite so that I can get on the platforms I want to be on. That's exactly the same thing.
That's a not second.
Well, you're doing the same thing that I'm doing YouTube on the stream.
Listen. If you're so confident in your moves, then just own it. You're making smart, strategic moves to get your babies back. So why not just own it? Why do you have to be like, okay,
I do. But the thing is, it's like, you know that I'm trying to do that, and if you respect me, why shit all over it when I've taken so many sacrifices already? Why not try to I didn't cut you off to try. That's ridiculous. Because I didn't do a shit podcast. It's like, there's part of me that wants to be the band guy, the outside stuff. Oh, this guy snaked me. This guy, he betrayed me because I didn't do a shit podcast.
And you're talking shit about white people for 2 months. White supremacist this, white supremacist that. It was like just a fucking
racial supremacy is wrong. You see my debate with Hebrew Israelites, and they were saying God is just like reading the street. Racial supremacy is wrong. Because I say supremacy is wrong, you're like, you're shitting on white people.
Everyone knows what you're doing.
Yeah, but why was the most viral clip me talking to the black supremacists?
You're doing cooking videos with rabbis, shitting on white supremacists. You get on the podcast.
Because I love everyone. I can't be around Jews now. I'm selling out by being around a Jew.
Everybody knows that.
What was going on?
You were trying to make yourself more palatable.
No, that's not true. It's selective memory. I went to the mosque with Aiden. He's a Jew. He put his head to the floor. We prayed. Okay. The next day, it's Sabbath day. Let's do it. It's like a show love to Judaism. What's wrong with that?
And you shows up and say, oh, everyone's obsessed with Jews, and you say, oh, I Jewish people are great, and blah blah blah.
Yeah.
You were on like an apology tour for like 3
He
months.
just said right now, I love Jews and I don't have a problem with them, and you don't call him a sellout.
Because he means it.
You think I'm lying when I say that I like Jews?
He's not doing it self-consciously to get his fucking YouTube baby back.
You can't tell me what I'm self-conscious about. I love Jews. I don't have a problem with Judaism.
Then you're not making moves. You're not making moves to clean up your image and get your babies back.
That's the moves are the same moves that you make by not saying the N-word. If I'm not going to say
the N-word.
Yeah, but you said you're not going to. The same thing if I go on XQC stream, I'm not going to say the F word because I know that it's going to be considerate. I'm bending over backwards for consideration for XQC stream. Everyone does it, but you don't like it. But you pointed everyone else and say, oh, you're a sellout, you're fake. It's like, who's going to want to work with you?
I'm not saying you're sellout. You're mad at me because I laughed at you. I told you I laughed at you. So, well, you should be happy that I am trying to get my YouTube channel back. It's like, okay, I mean, good for you, but it involved turning your back on that podcast, which was dishonorable. And then, follow me on Twitter and said, oh, I don't want to get banned with Elon. Like, that doesn't even make sense.
Everybody.
What, Sneako, tell us what happens if you use it. Like, what does that change in the course of your...
I have my catalog, my body of work in one place that people can look at.
But don't you have it in your hard drive?
Yeah, but people don't see it.
Yes, you do.
People don't see that. Of course I have everything.
You can put it up on a different website.
It doesn't have the same thing.
Why?
It doesn't have, because that's the poster board. That's the museum.
Put it on Sneako.com.
Yeah, I have it all on the website already. Yeah, it is.
Okay,
It's
so
there.
then why does it need to be on YouTube?
Because you didn't even know that. Because nobody knows that. Because it's not getting seen. Because it's not getting, people don't.
Oh, it's
check it
not
out.
being seen.
That's the whole point of making art. People look at it.
To be seen.
People make art so that it's
See, I disagree. I think we make art to express ourselves, not to be seen on YouTube.
Yeah, but if nobody sees it, then what's the point of making it?
Some of the greatest artists died in obscurity. They make it because they have to.
Yeah, the dive, isn't everyone like die broke? Nobody would. Do you think would appreciate it more if you could see that when it's live?
This is just like a fundamental question. And you alluded to it earlier. You can widen the net by diluting the art, and that's
like you do, but not saying
you're broadening. Okay, but I do.
And you said and right now you're not.
Because I contemplated it.
Okay. Well,
I mean, look, everybody contemplates. Let's be diplomatic. Let's resolve
And
this.
so okay, this is the fundamental question: is being diplomatic wrong?
We're not talking about being diplomatic.
I think we are.
Okay, so you be diplomatic without compromising.
But no, if I felt like I was compromising, it'd be something that's eating away. But I'm extremely glad you didn't apologize.
I'm glad that it's not eating away. But look, everybody in their life has to make decisions, and like you said, it's very personal because it's important to be on YouTube. Let's take it that way. If that's valid, that that's important to you. But everybody has to make decisions in their life about what they're willing to sacrifice. For some people, they're willing to sacrifice everything, literally everything, their lives, everything.
Well, I mean, look, this is like this argument doesn't make sense. I remember when you first got your Twitter back into the space, you were like strategic about like, oh, let me say these things. I don't want to become like the Jew hating. You're being
Well,
first got your Twitter back into the space, you were like strategic about like, oh, let me say these things. I don't want to become like the Jew hating. You're being But then that's what being diplomatic is. That's a body that's bending over. That's like, okay, are you holding back there? Are you compromising by not going full hard art?
Once again, but once again, I don't know why if you believe what you're saying and feel no shame about it, why don't you just
I've never compromised what I'm saying.
Okay.
I just didn't do a podcast that was pointless.
Yeah,
and that angered you.
Well,
and my grudge was like, dude, I've done, from my point of view, and I think you could agree, I've done a lot for you.
Yeah.
I've done a lot. And then how does that look when you spit on all of it? When I'm like, man, I'm like, fuck. Everything that I've been working for, I've gone back and then gone again.
Yeah.
How do you think that made me feel?
Because
My life? I'm saying, did it upload?
Okay, but in that
Did it
moment,
upload?
when that just happened, do you think that's what I wanted to see? Do you think that, how do you think that makes like your friends?
How do you think
I'm live.
I think that makes sense.
This makes no sense. This makes sense for his career. Let him bail on us 3 days.
For your career too. You said the podcast was shit. It makes sense for all of us.
Iron podcast is at the end of the world.
It's about, I don't know why it's in the point of contention here. On the one hand, you're saying, I self-consciously made moves to clean up my act. I abstained from certain collaborations or saying certain things. I leaned into other narratives to clean up my image, to get my YouTubers. That's the most important thing to me. And at the same time, you're like, well, I didn't do those things because, it just wasn't a good podcast, and I followed you because, Elon was banning people, and I said I'm about Jews because, I just do it.
Okay, why did you go to do that?
Because David Duke is crazy. Like, this is something that's intimidating. It seems like you can't talk about anything other than that.
I told you before, I was assuming he seemed prepared for an old man. He was making sense, like he seemed like he was.
I don't trust him. Do you know his background? Do you know
I
his
didn't know before, but he's really there. And it seemed like if you didn't want to interact with him, you interact with him.
What was he doing inside of Malaysia?
I don't know.
What was he doing in Trump?
I don't know.
Oh, that's weird. He hangs out in all of these countries that are adversaries of the United States of America.
So he finds it more sense that.
I don't know. I don't trust that. I don't trust people that are head of KKK, which is infiltrated from top to bottom. I don't trust people that are teaching English in Vietnam. I don't trust people that are hanging out in Iran, somehow from the United States. You look at like Jackson Hinkle, same story. He goes and like rallies for Ruthie's going to war with him and he walks through U.S. Customs. How's that going to happen? Like, so, I mean, you're trying to throw it back at me, and look, we can talk about my decisions. You started this by saying, I want to know what your criticism is. I'm just telling it to you. You can reject it and say,
you say it's the principle of not doing the podcast. Like, so if it's principles, what do you think about the principle of not of doing that to somebody that you call your friend? Is there other principles there?
I think that here's why I have a problem with it. My definition of friendship is that you will do something for somebody out of loyalty, even if it hurts you.
like not laughing when I'm bad and what I need to do.
That's you threw us under the bus.
You're not even abiding by your own.
You threw us under the bus to help your career, and then your career suffered anyway. So I said,
Wow,
wow.
apparently everyone's disloyal to you. Everyone that you've ever interacted with ever. How many people have betrayed you and are disloyal? Is everyone betraying, or is it maybe a common denominator?
Because everybody wants their YouTube channel more than their integrity. That's why. How many people are willing to sacrifice everything for the sake of integrity? Do the right thing when no one's looking, do the right thing when no one's going to give them credit, or see it on the fucking canvas of YouTube? Very few people. And that's why, and I know a lot of friends, but I know tons and tons of people, and a small percentage of them that are like me, really willing to say, fuck it, we ball, I'm ready to die for this, and mean it. Because a lot of people know, a lot of people are
So what do you expect me to die for?
the truth of God, which is that our country is being controlled by these people who worship the devil, and this has to be rewarded and stopped. We need to raise awareness about it.
I've never stopped talking. I've never stopped saying. Never got one. Yeah. So, Nick, do you hear any sort of valuable advice here? That maybe like it's not worth it to be crashed out on your
Listen, just from like an axiomatic position, it's just gay to say stuff like, I had to make moves to clean my image to get it on YouTube. Like, that to me, nothing is worth that. Nothing is worth like begging YouTube for your channel back so you can have your fucking.
No one's there if there was no promise. And if I had done that podcast, I wouldn't have the streaming where they have that control. Like I think it's time out on your class. Like you're acting as if I compromise something. I'm very happy not being on a podcast with these dudes talking about Jews all day. Like that just sounds miserable. Like yeah, it's like I'm dying for this. Like what are you doing? You're saying Jew on a mic in a room? Like what is that doing?
Why do you think they censor if that stuff didn't happen?
Of course, it's important to talk about truth, it's important to talk about control, but at a certain time, you have to strategize this terrible thing. When people that have the most effective market close to Israel, Ian Carroll gets on Twitter. These people are strategic about it. Ian Carroll, okay, for example, Ian Carroll goes to Joe Rogan podcast, says Israel FC, says USS Liberty, the first 10 minutes, doing podcast, he's going to wait for the last 2 hours, he waits Joe Rogan's talk, he's being strategic, and how many people woke up?
Because he said it one time. And then, by the way, here's your strategy. Then the next week you get Dave Smith and Douglas Murray, who both agreed there was like dark anti-Semitism on the horizon that needs to be stopped. They both agreed on it. They said, well, you should be able to criticize Israel, but if you deny the Holocaust, if there's really dark woke right stuff going on.
It doesn't take back from what Ian Carroll said.
He does. It's another form of manipulating the conversation.
It doesn't invalidate Ian Carroll's efforts on social Israel. Okay, so now is Ian Carroll for us?
No, and I like Ian Carroll, but to say that him going on Rogan and talking about fucking UFOs for 3 hours and there's a throwaway line about Epstein and Israel, it's not like that's a strategic victory. I just disagree. I also disagree because these so-called strategic victories, they don't happen in a vacuum. They happen after the sequence where people have been censored and banned to deliver that to the masses and create fertile ground for it. Because that Rogan Ian Carroll conversation would never happen if it wasn't huge on Twitter.
So what do you expect? You expect like Ian Carroll, you can't be like every day? No. What do you expect? You compare the Bowen teammate. Someone's in the front of the guy with lines first people back the boat. If the people in the front the whole time are like, fuck you, and want to go and royal, then you're losing. Like everyone has to play a role and you're upset that other people are not in the same way that you are.
I like Ian Carroll, but what I have a problem with is when people say, like, everybody that talks about it explicitly and is like a legitimate propagandist, and I don't mean that in like very dishonest, I mean they're committed to bringing the truth to people as much as possible. To pretend that like Ian Carroll saying a throwaway line on Joe Rogan is this huge victory. Okay, wait. But you have to keep in mind, the only reason Rogan brought him on to talk about Israel, which is a very taboo subject, Rogan had to do it because everybody was already talking about it. And everybody was already talking about it because people are getting spawned in bands.
We're learning right now. Yeah, want to be on camera? It's really good.
Continue, sorry. Epstein, they just wasn't Epstein. That's what they had. He had a pain they probably destroyed 60 years ago. But I mean, what? Let me put a bow on this and say this in a way that is more succinct. And I've said it, I'll give you an example. I did a fundraiser 3 years ago, all those stars, Congress of Arizona. They wanted to do a fundraiser to raise a lot of money for them on a couple of occasions. I was on the federal fly list. I drove 25 hours.
You're on a no fly list?
I was, but not anymore. But because I was, I tried.
You can fly yourself. You're compromising. If you get a commercial airline, you're it's fake paying to fly Delta.
That's true.
Bro, this is fucking
So we can talk like this on the platform?
You can talk like this.
Oh, yeah, we're with the CEO. That was CEO saying that. Yeah, you know how we do it. Like,
no fly list is crazy.
I know, dude. I know. It sucked.
So like, what, you have to drive and take boats?
I had to drive.
What the fuck? So what happens when it's into an airport?
If I go there, the boarding pass doesn't work. And so I go to TSA or the ticketing counter, and my boarding pass doesn't work. And they would say, oh, okay, well, let me call someone. They call TSA, and TSA would say, he's not clear to fly. And they can't even tell you on the list. They say, you can't fly today. And I'd say, what does that mean? I can't fly here. here, this airline, this airport, what the fuck does that mean? I can't fly today, tomorrow. They said that's all we can say. Because the list is classified law enforcement information. So if you're on it, they can't even tell you. You don't even know. You just have to assume it. And anyway.
Would you have a box?
Box.
Like, would you ever get into boxing? Would you fight on Branders?
Probably not. I don't want you to get in the face.
Okay. Alright, continue.
I get beat up. But,
No.
that's the only way you're getting out of this one. Fucking knock me out. So I was on the street with him, but I kicked his ass. I shut that Nazi up. So I drove to this fundraiser. I drove 25 hours across the country to do it, and they canceled it when I got there. Yeah, I drove 25 hours to the fundraiser. They canceled it because the speaker, who was Republican at the time, caught wind of it, and they said, "No, sorry, if you go through the fundraiser, it's going to be trouble for you." And I told the campaign manager, whatever, I said to him, "Why the fuck are you canceling?" I'm like, I would prefer that you just not ever agree to do it. If you're going to do it, do it. If you agree to do it, follow through, whatever happens. Or don't do it. I said, what you can't do is agree to do it, maybe drive all this way, you're going to get attacked for it anyway, and then you cancel it, and you don't get the money, and then you look like fuck. I said, that's the worst of both possibilities. And that's kind of like, that's right. True. The album. Next week, 2 weeks, streaming everywhere. No, but you look like you're a coward, you look like you're backing down, and that's kind of the same advice I have for you. I mean, you asked me my criticism, and now you're doom scrolling and
You're talking about the
fucking.
no-fly
What?
You're talking about
No! Okay, whatever. I was explaining my point, but that's okay.
Did Chicago and Arizona go?
Yep, that's on that. But, look, we can agree to disagree. But,
Yeah, I don't think being man-and-woman is a measurement for how truthful you are.
I'm not saying that.
And I also don't think that argument makes sense saying like you're bending over backwards to play by the rules. Like if you go to TSA and you don't know you're bending over backwards, if you're complying and putting your laptop and take your shoes off to get line at TSA, is that sell out fraud or are you just following the rules to get to your destination? It's the same avenue with contemplation. It's a means to an end.
Fair enough. That's the other side of the coin. That's the other side of the argument. It's a tension. And I agree with you. It's not all right. But there is a tension between whether you're going to take artistic liberties or whether you're going to prioritize commercial success or success in general. It is a tension. But I mean, look, the reason that I laughed about your thing, getting banned, first of all, we got to grow a little bit thicker skin. I understand that's hurtful, but I mean, we're talking that. I don't think it's out of it.
No, it's not. You took satisfaction. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I took satisfaction.
Yeah, it's not evil. Like we're like an evil laugh at somebody losing, like a villain in a movie. Like, who the fuck?
Why are you giving me aura? Why are you aura farming me right now? I'm laughing like a villain in a movie.
Yeah, so somebody that you called
deriving satisfaction.
That is kind of fucked up. Yeah, off of the system, off of you like Joey or somebody.
Okay, but everybody can understand why. You bailed on the podcast to get your channel. Then your channel got taken anyway.
You keep making up why I do that shit podcast. It was a shit podcast and nobody wanted it. No, literally no one in my community wanted it.
It's so tedious. I think people wanted it.
There's not one person in Love Speech said, hey, let's do the podcast with Elijah.
Wait, hold on, I got to chat. Hey, Sneako Love Speech, you guys want that podcast?
There's not one person who wanted it. It
was going to be me, Sneako, Myron, Elijah, and special guests.
Love Speech, you guys want that podcast?
95% of people didn't know who Elijah Schaefer was.
Well, he's just your rock.
All right.
I don't pay attention. This person's not on my radar. Yeah. You think I'm thinking of this guy? Like, I don't give a fuck. It's not. I don't care. This is not something that I care about. My community cares about. Or that's interesting. So I'm not gonna do it. It's not interesting.
Hey, you guys made up for it tonight.
What's that?
You didn't do the podcast, but you did this.
That's right.
It's a hit.
Look,
I'm not glad the chat is saying yes, but I think there is people.
Well,
yeah, I mean,
I'm pretty sure it's a very big audience. Shit, I'm not like no violence. No, I meant something. As long as I'm not
Reddit, run from it. Where did it bring you? Back to me.
I feel like someone's going to do better than ever done.
I agree.
I'm very proud of you.
Back to each other. What did I say? I said I love the vlogs. I
No,
watch the
no,
vlogs.
publicly, this is what I'm talking about. When you do everything, when you say you laugh for a minute straight. Right? When I start doing amazing vlogs, you say it privately, there's no addressing public. Hey, Steve's doing a good job on this work. But when something bad happens, then go right to the stream.
Because, dude, you bailed, and then you want to follow me on Twitter, and you literally disassociated with me.
So why is that okay? If you think my vlogs are dope, then you're being fake by not saying it. Why are you not saying that?
I'm saying it on stream right now.
Now, why haven't you said it in the past 1 month?
I don't know what answer.
Maybe you're backwards through things. Maybe you're trying to appease something. Maybe when they TTS and they say shit like rape Steve, you're like, oh, don't say that. Right? But that's the evil shit that he does. It's like, you know, no, I know. You know what you're doing.
I think there's some friendship left.
You know what you're doing. Then they TTS and rape Steve, you're like, hey, stop it. And they're like, yeah, because you know you have edgy fans.
I literally say, don't say that.
You don't think you know what you're doing, really?
Sincerely, I say,
you don't think you're, and it's not like I care. But when I see you doing that, I'm like, this guy likes, you know, he likes attacking. You're very, it's like standing there, it's like thin skin. I don't care about troll comments. I care about you not caring about your friends. Well, that people are supposed to care about. Why would you do that to people that help you out? Why would you like send people to go and attack you like the same people that want to stop?
You know why? Because you're a fair weather friend. That's why. Everybody knows that.
I'm a fair weather friend to you?
Yes.
Okay.
That's why you bailed on it. Dude, in December, you texted me and said, hey man, I'm following you on Twitter because of what's happening with Elon.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Elon, I have 500,000 followers. Elon was going to ban 500,000 people for following me.
It's very likely that somebody would buy size on Twitter now, they definitely fall across.
I don't even
Why would I take the risk? And that's what that,
there it is.
Why would I take
There it is.
Okay, I texted you to explain why. If I was a fair weather friend, I would have said this is why I'm doing it. I just follow behind you. If it's going to protect me in any sort of way, the only problem I have is everything I lost.
There it is. I will disassociate from you if it will protect. There it is.
Okay, I texted you to explain why.
And 500,000 people for following me.
It's very likely that somebody would buy size on Twitter account, they definitely fall across. Why would I take the risk? And that's what that,
There it is.
Why would I take
There it is.
Okay, I texted you to explain why. If I was a fair weather friend, I would have said this is why I'm doing it. Why does it follow behind you? If it's going to protect me in any sort of way, the only platform I have is everything I lost.
There it is. I will disassociate from you if it will protect me
How is
anyway.
it associated if I say this is what I'm doing? Hey, it's not a personal thing.
All three of them.
Strategy. Sell out. Like you don't understand.
You're just self-reporting. And what? You're just self-reporting. You say, if I can protect myself in any way, Why would I follow?
Wait, now you can't get caught up with them?
What is that? Doesn't define a friendship. What are you talking about? You think that's like a little click on X?
What does it? I mean, like,
But how you treat people.
I think it's
Get in it, bro. Like, there you go. You want me on?
Okay, you understand what
They can hear me.
After you get on the podcast, it's more like a bad, all your red will bad look for you.
Ironically, like, when you talk about the mixed nature of Jewish people, and you find yourself putting yourself in like everyone's attacking, everyone's against, everyone's betraying you. We kicked out 109 friendships. Everyone's, how many people, like, over the years, they'll tell you how many people have betrayed.
Well, listen, that's actually a good question, valid question. This does appear to be common denominator.
Right, 109 you guys can see the other time, videos are probably, look at it here.
It's a valid question. But you also have to consider, why did Nina move this chair 5 feet away from me on the screen after just met? Is it because because that is the kind of pressure that I and everyone around me is under at all times. In other words, there's an immense incentive to disassociate and betray me.
Okay, so Jimmy, I'm risking everything's built on camera. You want to stream us on
I'm not saying that. You're saying the reason people disassociate is because you're the problem, you're the common denominator. I'm saying there's a vast incentive for people to see your clear.
Who's the bad friend?
I don't think that's who's the bad friend. You bailed on us 3 days before the podcast. It was 3 days or a week. It was 3 or 4 days.
Yeah. You depends where he's in the why.
Yeah, so it's not a podcast, it's not myself. Podcast that hadn't started.
This isn't a good
It's like not doing a stream. It's like, okay, you get like full years. It's like, so how many people cancel your stream? A lot. That's
fucking
nasty. He's like, you can make a stream, and I don't want to stream. That's ridiculous, I think.
It didn't make sense to do it. It didn't make sense to do it.
It's a new day. It's a new era.
At the end of the day, you're asking me why I have permission to do why I don't. And that's fine. You can disagree. People, you and I are standing here now talking to each other. People are watching. Whatever I was saying, but you know where I stand. And like you said, and I'm not trying to be a dick, throw this in your face, but you said like my YouTube is like my kids. It's like I think that's just such a problematic. That's exactly the word. That's just like fuck. That's me. But that's me. That's who I am. And
so you can't expect everyone to be like that.
I don't
think everyone's you.
I don't expect
that's such a ridiculous.
I don't expect you, but
but you think it's ridiculous that I like YouTube. You think it's why would it doesn't matter what I think.
about other people who are not right or either. You know, because I am in a die situation. Like, and not to be dramatic, but I am in like people are trying to kill me situation. So people have
If you want to die for you, then they're disloyal. If I want to die for you,
it's not just that. Like, I can't afford to be around people like that. Is what I'm saying. You want to know why? Because like I have people that work for me. What happens if a very wealthy person comes to the person that works for me and says, "Hey, I'll give you $1 million if you leave Influence's back door unlocked."
Yeah. Well, I mean, what die for me? Like, this is a very ridiculous thing to think about. I don't even agree with 95% of what you talk about. I'm not a racist. I don't like nationalism. Like, why would I die for something that doesn't benefit me or doesn't align with me? That's what a ridiculous expectation to have of somebody called a friend.
Yeah.
If you don't die for my political cause, you're a disloyal friend. What are you talking about?
If you're in my situation, that is how you have to look at it.
Yeah, but to expect people to fall in line with your completely abnormal situation is ridiculous.
I'm not. When I say expect you to do that, I just said I can't afford to be around people that like. I can't like. You say, well, you're mad because I said this, that, and the other. I said, yeah, I mean, I can't be friends with people that aren't right.
Hey Nick, something like the TikTok.
All right, so you want people to die for you?
Never happened.
I need trust. I need trust.
I need sure, but you say people need to die for your cause.
They need right. They need right.
All right, so I mean, that's where I mean, like to expect me, like mixed race and Muslim, to go die for your cause.
Why does that have anything to do with it?
Because your cause is white nationalism. Why would I die for that?
My cause is the truth.
Is it white nationalism?
It's the truth that I was happening to
Well, you're okay, but sugar you're bending over backwards for.
I'm not. The truth is that whites are being genocided in the world. It's lowering the global average IQ, it's destroying human prosperity. So, to the extent that that is true, yes, there's a merit of that. The type of demographics is growing. Absolutely.
Okay, I mean, that's what you're saying makes sense. But do you expect me to die for white nationalism?
For the truth.
You're not going to say yes or no?
For the truth. Okay. You can call it that. You can say white supremacy, anti-Semitism. Who's going to join for white supremacy?
Are you white supremacist?
No.
You didn't know any white supremacists.
Now this is another liberal billboard. Are you a white supremacist?
No, this is just white liberal, like you're offended by it.
How do you think up his man and you're the guy that's asking another guy, are you a white supremacist?
It's a small question. It's a straight question.
It's a great question to ask. What do you mean?
I need to be a white security right to do that. Okay, so you don't want to answer this. Now you're bending over to the next question. You call it a big question to escape. It's just a question.
I thought we were at Red Pill headquarters.
Yeah, if you think Red Pill is white superior, then you have a different.
And you're making attention to no gotcha question. That's how you pernicious question.
That's what a CNN reporter. It's a gotcha question by his logic that he's running away and he's bending over backwards. He's strategic, so he doesn't get mad. Same fucking thing about the podcast. Now you're going to like a question. How is that? Do you not see double standard? Now it's gay, now it's this. Dude, that's the same logic.
It's a low IQ.
Yeah, it's like it's low IQ to that podcast. Like, they don't get upset.
Yeah. Listen, man. You want YouTube? You have YouTube. I say fuck YouTube. That's what I say. It's my party. This is like.
This is a later part.
That's crazy. Okay, is this an album release or is this like a session? You watched the George W. Bush speech. I have a question.
I'm very out of politics, but out of anything and everything. My motto is the American Swiss. And
My life motto is ignorance is bliss. No way, he just said that.
Any and everything. My life motto is ignorance is bliss. And
Okay.
I know I'll stay focused on myself. And so my question is, hypothetically, if you were to see, and this is for each of you, so if you were to see each other not knowing each other hurt beside us, would you call for assistance? Of course. No.
That's all that matters.
Yeah, I feel like because so I'm obviously African American, like live, so it's obvious. I have 2 daughters. I was married for 12 years to a white woman, beautiful woman. Yeah, she's still. I mean, she's still, you know, in a lot of regards, apple in my eye. She's a great mother and stuff. But I had before my daughter turning 17 and 18, blah blah blah. In my entire relationship with her, we never had to be like scared or situations like that. And that was the thing. And I remember this thing, and you asked a question because I posted. I have to wear like this, my shirt, and like that. And like just a hippie or anything like that. But at the end of the day, and I feel like I mean, yeah, like straight, like I really feel like. Well, I can't recall. I'm 49 years old. I never had like an American in my family.
Who's this dude just? LARPing.
Well, we got her as children, and I was only born here, so you know, I mean, and I can't even. I guess because of my innate mantra. Yes, absolutely. Love everyone. I feel like also love everyone. Yes, absolutely. Love everyone. I agree. I'm sorry. Oh, well, now you hate me. Now you hate me. But yeah, like no. I'm back now. No, but I honestly feel like as I heard you guys, you know, certain words were used, and it seemed like tempers were starting to rise a bit. And I hear seemingly like you're like hard at opposite sides. You know, I'm not trying to diffuse anything either. But at the same time, I'm hoping everybody would realize like really well. We're all saying like,
Oh yeah, you said about being on the side of the road and being hurt is the real key.
yeah, I just imagine that. I don't know.
Have a conversation about eating. We all do that.
Yeah, like I mean, you know, I don't know your history with each other, and I'm really just finding out about you know who you guys are and stuff like that out in the ethos and stuff like that. But I mean, we were together at the A24 political campaign. Oh, yeah, yeah. Some stuff we didn't. Yeah. I feel like you were the same. You know, just knowing each other that's a bit.
So we're just glad you back to the
Hey, boss, what does the chat think about? Let's see. This is still on? This is still on? No? So who's attending the camera? Wow. Yeah, let's see. Click on the chat. Terrible angle from the problem. Let's see. What do you think? Boss, what does the chat think about the 8th century? This website's written, so. Yeah, that's what that shit is. Do a show, man.
Do a show, Nick.
I ain't getting frisked. I put your security at risk. I ain't getting frisked.
Okay, that's all that there is here. Music sounds lit. I like the music. I'm looking forward to it. Bam. This is Donda 2. It's probably not the final song list. Bunch of songs. I'm looking forward to new Yay music. Personally. Anyways. Okay, so yeah, Nick made some good points. And one thing that I have to say about Sneako is, you know, I appreciate his persistence to really hammer away his point. He seems like he truly believes it, but I see Nick's point of view a little bit more clearly. It's, considering his position, it's quite evident when people prioritize other things over that which is the most important, like that which is good, that which is true. And it's quite evident when people prioritize other things over that which we would consider, to be the highest conceivable goods: truth, goodness, beauty. And when we see people compromise that, even if it's in a way that might be deemed good in the eyes of the person who is compromising, there is a shift in regards to priority. Therefore, there is a shift in that which one is loyal to, and who one is loyal to. And I don't fault Nick for being able to see all of these things, because especially considering his circumstances, it's hard not to be pertinently aware of these things. And so I don't fault Nick for noticing these things, calling them out, opening up and having the dialogue about these things. And props to Sneako for really actively contending with Nick's point of view. But yeah, I gotta side with Nick on that one. I see Nick's point of view, and he was, I believe, a little bit more coherent in articulating his argument. But yes, that's gonna do it for me today. Wow, almost 2 hours. Did not want it to go this long, but it did. Alright, I'm gonna head out now. Please smash a like button if you enjoyed this video. A little bit less pontificating, more reaction based. I'm trying to get used to what kind of content it is that I should react to that is good, that I can positively speak on and truthfully speak on at the same time. And as I curate these things, please hit the comment section below if you have any certain requests. And I wish it wasn't this late in the day. It's 12:48 a.m. for me, so that doesn't really allow for me to be as extravagant in my presentation of the. It doesn't allow for me to be as entertaining as I might have been if I did this stream earlier, but I'll work on that. Anyways, smash the like button if you liked this stream. Comment down below if you have any personal requests in which you would like for me to react to, or even look at for the next stream to comment on. Aside from that, we'll see you guys on the next episode of Bless the Lord with brrai.n on Twitch.